Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Bona Normandeau. She is a happiness coach, mentor, podcast host, and a public speaker. Welcome to the show, Bona.
Thanks, AJ. It's exciting to be here.
You are welcome to the show, Bona. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the world will benefit from what we are going to discuss right now. We'll be talking about learning the art of happiness from you, the pursuit of happiness that everyone is working towards. So, to understand first, about happiness, first we have to know about your own journey. Tell us a bit about your own journey. Were you happy from day one, or you also found it for yourself? Let's understand the happiness as per you. Help us understand with a bit of your journey for the audience, Bona.
Absolutely. So a few years ago, I went to a conference with a girlfriend, and it was just planned to be a girls' weekend away. We lived in different cities, so it was just supposed to be a fun getaway. And in one of the speakers asked the question, "What is the dream in your heart?" And the whole audience, you're supposed to turn to the person next to you and share. And everybody erupted with excitement, and they were turning to the person next to them and sharing. We were a group of three, so I turned to the friend to the left, and she excitedly shared. I turned to the friend to the right, and she excitedly shared. And then they both turned and looked at me, and I just started to cry. I felt like there was a big hole in me. I didn't have a dream in my heart. I didn't even really know what the speaker meant by that. And so I just felt, one of these things is not like the other. It's like the world has it figured out, and I just didn't get the memo. What is the dream in my heart? So I left that conference. I did a lot of thinking, and I started on my happiness journey. I essentially came back from that, and I realized I don't think you can have a dream in your heart unless you learn to like yourself and maybe even love yourself. I just don't think you can have that. So I went on my own journey, and I started reading self-help books and journaling and meditating and working out and journaling. And I started to discover that I could learn more about myself, learn self-acceptance, self-love. And in the middle of that journey, I realized that I might not be alone. In that conference, I felt alone. I felt like I was the only one who didn't know. But essentially, the message that came through to me was I was supposed to share my journey with other people, just in case there were other people out there like me who just felt like they were lacking, like there was this big hole. So I started the Happier You podcast, and I started sharing what I had learned. And what I learned is figuring out how to be happy. So I called my podcast The Happier You.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand for the audience is uh, how is happiness related to a dream? If anyone does not have a dream, does that mean that they are not happy? A lot of people who are very normal people who do not have any dream in that sense of the word, they are very happy. They live for the day. They don't have a dream of having a big villa, big house, big car, and so they are happy. They just live the life as it comes rather than thinking about tomorrow. They will think about tomorrow, but not the day after, and that
Right.
sometimes can lead to. So help us understand vis-a-vis that sort of a life.
Yeah, I don't, it's interesting because until somebody asked me that question, I didn't know I was missing one kind of thing. And I never tell people that they have to have one. I think if you're living your best life, I think you have a dream in your heart, and maybe you're just already living it. I think for me, what it was is there was just a lack. Like all of these people, the 3,000 people in the auditorium with me, they all seemed to know what they were doing with their lives. And I joined the military at 17, and basically, they always told me how to get to the next step, how to achieve, what was the next thing I could do. And so every 2 years, I got a new job, and they told me what I needed to do to succeed. So I did that. But then suddenly I was self-employed, and I didn't know what my next step was. And so I don't necessarily think that having a dream and being happy, I don't think you have to have a dream necessarily to be happy, but I think when you're happy, you already know that you're living your best life. You're doing what you were put on this earth to do. So I think that kind of is what the dream in your heart is knowing that you're living your authentic life and showing up as your true self every day.
Right, right. Now, how should one look at happiness? Is it a constant state of being, or is it about achieving something? Because if you buy a new phone and you are very happy and it falls down, you become unhappy. And you will be unhappy for a long, long time. So I want to understand then, what is this happiness? Is it very transitory or is it permanent? What sort of happiness should people aim for as per you?
I love this question because happiness is not a constant state, and it's also not a destination. So and I really, it's interesting because I love the example of the phone. Yes, I would be very unhappy for a long time if I broke my expensive phone. Um, I believe happiness is something that we invite into our life and it's something that we visit. So it's not a constant state. It's something that we choose to experience on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And understanding that it's not happy all the time, but I believe that when you have the tools to choose happiness in your life, you can kind of pull yourself out of those tough times faster. You've got the same tools that are happiness, I believe, are resilience. And so it's the ability to pick yourself up and get yourself what you need to get through the tough times. So it's not a constant state. It can be learned. It can become a habit, and it's sort of I call it like a muscle. Like the more you figure out how to add happiness into your life and take care of yourself and find more happiness, the more you can do it, the stronger it gets. But you have to keep working on it. It's not that you learn the tools and then it magically comes to you. It's never like that. It's just you choose happy.
Right, right. So if you can choose to be happy, why do people choose to be unhappy when there is nothing to be unhappy about? Tell us about this part, Bona.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I think that people don't know how to choose happy. And for some of us, it's the way we're raised. We've just never, we're maybe raised and taught to be victims, that, the world owes me. And I think that's the biggest thing that I teach is it's no one else's responsibility to bring you joy. It's your job to figure out what brings you joy and then to enjoy things, to let yourself enjoy great things. So I think sometimes we're just not taught. We've never been given the skills. I think part of it is, like you said, when we get fancy things, we're happy at that moment and then it's gone because now we want more. And we're constantly being marketed to that we should want more. So I think, like I said, it's sort of that muscle that we need to work on and learn to be happier. And I think sometimes it's our environment. Just nobody's really told us that we're allowed to be happier than this. And it's okay to enjoy the small pleasures in life as well as the big ones.
Right, right. So for those people who have forgotten about happiness that is very much there, what is the way they can do so for themselves? Several people I've seen very sullen in spite of, having everything, and very grumpy in spite of everything. And you meet them, you see them, and you might also become unhappy. Why is it? How can they be happy, especially, or for people who are facing difficult times? How can they be happy in the situation that they are in? You talk about, that we individuals have that ability to be happy. How do you get started with this?
Yeah. So, I always like to start people out with gratitude. So just taking a look at their life and appreciating what they already have. And not someone telling them that they should appreciate what they have, but them saying, "Oh, I'm really grateful this is in my life," or this person, or "I'm really grateful I had this experience. I'm grateful for that sleep in or the cup of coffee." One of the things I really teach, I always challenge people to add more gratitude into their life. So yeah, we're grateful for our health, we're grateful for our families, we're grateful for a roof over our heads and stability. But then when you start going beyond that, you start to realize that there's many, many gems in our lives And for us individually to notice, not someone telling us we should be grateful, but actually realizing I am so glad I have that or this person. And so I challenge people to do it for 2 weeks, 30 days, 3 new things each day. And it doesn't mean you're not grateful for what you said yesterday, but it's really stretching you to find all the crazy little things in your life that you already have instead of taking them for granted, honoring those beautiful things. So that's definitely one of them. The other one I challenge people to do is to find out what really brings them joy and acknowledge it and then schedule it into their life. So yeah, we all have stressful times and life is a roller coaster. It's not always happiness and roses. There's tough times, but in those tough times, what are some things we can do to help ourselves through it? And those are personal recharge activities. So, for me, it's a walk in the woods. I love paddleboarding. It's almost like a meditation for me. I know these things and I make sure that in my week and in my month, I schedule them in. Sometimes if it's really, really busy, I'll just do a 5-minute yoga flow on my lunch break because it just calms me down, brings me joy. But I'm doing something to refill my cup and remind myself that I've got this. Life isn't so bad. I can do things for myself and just motivate and encourage myself. I'm not looking outside for anybody else to do it except for me.
Right, right. Now, someone great, he said that, a thing of joy is forever. What is the, shelf life of happiness? Is it also, what is the, actually, I want to understand, what is the similarity or difference between joy and happiness? Help us understand so that, should we aim for joy or should we aim for happiness?
I'll be honest, when I chose the title to my podcast, The Happier You, so now I've become the happiness lady. But I think they're almost synonymous in that I don't get stuck in those types of words. It's like, does it bring you joy? Well, when something brings you joy, you kind of figure out you're happy. And when you're happy, things bring you joy. So I really don't get stuck on it, but that it's not that constant state, but it's allowing yourself to enjoy things, is when you realize that you're happy. And so, that spark of joy, I think it's because you start to appreciate it and realize it, and you can always go back and touch it. You can go back and remember joyful moments, and celebrations, and you get joy again when you remember them. So I think that's sort of the, forever. If you remember joy, you know what it feels like, you can go back and find it again.
Right, right. Now, you also talk about resilience. So, does your happiness quotient get challenged by things that you bring out the resilience in you? So, does it also mean that, a little bit of challenge in your life will actually bring out much more of resilience, whether it will you are much more resilient, and that will lead to much more happiness rather than being a couch potato. If you go out and sweat it out, find a bit of a difficulty, get that feeling, have some, fresh air outside, even it's a bit chilly, and you feel much more happy. What is the relationship between happiness and resilience?
So I find lots of people come to me because they don't usually come to me happy. Let's be honest, right? They're usually in a tough time or a stressful time, and they're like, how do I get out of this? How do I be happier, live, my more authentic, happier life? And so it when they come to me by choice, they're looking for help, and I have what I call, my toolbox of happiness tools. So things that you can try, not everything works for everyone, but things that you can try to start to get to know what brings you joy. And it happened a few years ago. I got invited to speak at a conference and it was on resilience. And I was like, huh, isn't that interesting? Because I'm the happiness lady. But what happened is I said, well, I think these tools, these 5 tools, I just grabbed 5 that I thought were most made the most sense. And I said, I think that's, finding your happiness is like pulling yourself out of a tough time. Like, what can you do to change your mindset and find joy? And turns out, the 5 speakers after me who had all been through major, major tough things and they pulled themselves through it, we all talked about the same things, just being grateful, finding what's good in your life, taking care of yourself, finding hope. But it really all came down to you taking care of you and not waiting for someone else to come and save you. So, do I think you need to go find, rough things? I do think that when we go outside our comfort zone, AJ, we find new things and we find this strength in ourselves that we're like, oh, I forgot that was there. And sometimes we forget how powerful we are. So I don't think we have to go looking for it necessarily, but I also don't think it's a bad thing to put yourself outside your comfort zone, try new things, feel the fear and do it anyways, kind of thing. So,
Right, right, Bona. So our happiness depends on us, or does it depend on things outside or other people, or even within our relationship? Where do we find our happiness?
yeah, it all comes down to us, AJ. Like, I hear people say, "Oh, he makes me so happy," or "She makes me so happy." It's I don't agree with that. It's you. You choose to take joy from that moment. And so I think the more we get to know ourselves and what brings us joy and how to experience that joy, because it's different for each of us. And like I said, you asked the question about the people who we think should be happy, they have everything but they're not. It's because they haven't figured out how to enjoy things themselves. And so it's a muscle. It can be learned. It's not earned. You don't get it because you make more money or you lose weight or you marry the perfect person. It really is a choice inside of you that you start to let more joy into your life.
Right, right, Bona. So if happiness is about finding that thing for us, you talk about a happiness support team. What does a happiness support team do? How do I find it?
Okay, so this concept came about. I was reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he says if you want to change something in your life, you want to surround yourself with people who are doing the same thing, right? So if you're going to change your eating habits, you can't necessarily hang out with the people you went for beer and wings with, every week or whatever. And this is sort of the same concept. So in the middle of COVID, I ran a happiness challenge, and this group of ladies, I didn't organize it. They completely organized it themselves. And they just created a group on Facebook Messenger and encouraged each other because I gave a challenge every day for 21 days. And they encouraged each other and, supported each other. And there was kind of that peer pressure to do the homework, because I talk about happiness tools all the time, but unless people try them, they don't actually know if it's going to work for them, and they won't feel the joy from doing the different exercises. So what I mean by creating that group is finding people who are looking to be happier as well, or they're looking for change, or they're looking to feel better. Sometimes it's people in chronic pain, and if they're only around people who are complaining about how they feel, it's really hard to make a change in your life. So that's the beauty of the internet. We have, like, on my Facebook group, somebody will post something and everybody knows how to cheer them on, because what I found is when I started this podcast, the best advice I got was to start a Facebook group. So I wasn't just talking to myself in the closet. And what I got was feedback when people would say, I needed to hear that. And just knowing that you're not alone, but not alone, and finding encouragement and changing the conversations that you're having with the people around you. So what I find is, I've branched out more into group coaching when I teach this stuff, because you just want to have a conversation with someone who understands that you figured out a new recharge activity. And, if you say that around your dinner table and they're not on the same journey as you, they're not so excited about your new recharge activity. But somebody who's doing the same work as you, they're supportive, they're excited for you, and they're going to celebrate with you. So sometimes it's not always easy to find people in the environment we're already in. And that's the beauty of the internet. You can go find people who are on similar journeys and cheer each other on.
Absolutely, absolutely, Bona. It's the power of the internet, just like your podcast. the Happier You podcast, and the name itself makes me feel happy about this. That you must be talking about some cool things, some happy things, and when the word itself brings a smile on your face, something positive, something full of hope. It's like when you hear about these things, it's like talking about an ice cream. Even if you don't have the ice cream with you, or you are not talking, even if you are talking about that ice cream with someone else, you feel as if you are having it. And happiness is also something like when you are just sharing a good conversation, even about the things which are virtual. I guess it is a much more bigger thing. A lot of things can be learned from you. A lot of things are there to learn from you about happiness. So, what is the best way for people to connect with you, Bona?
Yeah, so the podcast is out there, The Happier You. I also my website, thehappieryou.net. The podcast is there. There is about to be. I'm just undergoing a change in the website, but there's going to be some free resources there. I've got a 14-day gratitude challenge. I talked about that earlier because I really think just supporting people in trying the different tools is really how they're going to affect change. So yeah, thehappieryou.net and our Facebook group, The Happier You. We're out there. Come find us. I honestly believe, AJ, that the more we each individually work on our happiness, the more we can affect the people around us. We can change the conversations that we're having. So instead of complaining, we're encouraging and helping other people find the happiness. And I think that's how we make a difference, is we bring more happy into the world instead of judgment and complaining and comparing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ.